Chapter 2. Woke. He woke. Last time Jake felt at all was still behind the desk when he heard that voice. This room that he now was in blinded him by its whiteness, longer than his boring ever did. This room was too clean to be his room, or a room at all. By process of elimination, this room was too white to be hell, and too lonely to be a drunk night girl's room. His sight had rolled back into the thick of his eyelashes. One more time before he figured out he had woken up in a hospital, and that probably his teeth were still buried somewhere in the sidewalk of a large concrete building. An echo waked him, and a consequent idea made him open his eyes. A future made Jake stand, and a dream will keep him go on, starting now. Woke. He jumped up, dressed and left the room. No nurse needed for that. A man with a message, a man with a mission, a man... You know what I'm getting at, right? Probably a passionate nitwit who thinks to have reinvented his life in a single day. Jake created an image in the back of his mind. He would follow it till he walked on his bare feet due to the aging of his soles. His shoe soles, I mean. When he laid down in his 3-room flat that night, he was different than when he woke up 2 days before. Then merely an informatics student. Now he wanted to code his way to that ephemeral girl. One way of doing that is following the same road the voice walked. Starting tomorrow, he was going to use his own words to find her trail through this urban spiderweb filled with people and find the lips and the passion he had once heard. He was a newborn, and these were his last meters crawling before the umbilical cord was cut.
The night has faded away and years are ready to be popped. The glance of the silver grey has been washed and then dropped. Filthy coats on a hook like shelves without a book, waiting to be filled with new words like guilt. He wakes up, gets up, dresses up, to roll down, walk down and get a noun. For the next sentence is the one that gets down. A new start like a huge thought getting you off the ground with a clear sound.
Those few words were engraved, almost like if by a knife in a piece of cardboard that once was used to cover a pizza. He had shattered the pencils in his hand. Not the anger did, but the revelation he had. He wanted to write more, but he didn't find a tool for it. Roaring his lungs empty, he understood he always had the tool. He just didn't see it. The verbal road is the only one he will ink in, until the words will walk in front of him. A few hours later, Jake stood in the center of his room with 3 pages full of words, covering at least 4 pizza boxes, maybe even 7, maybe even sentences. Who knows? His eyes are as red as dried tomatoes, and his lips vibrating like leaves on a rainy day in November. The crossing between the human and the poetical world was open for too long, and now his hand started to sculpt the words of a song. His voice lost shape, sounding like pieces of premature Granny Schmidt were gorging out letters of the merely readable writing on the paper. Suddenly, his fingers let the remains of the 4 cheese treasure drop. His vampiric red eyes turned back in his skull, and his chin pointed at the ceiling. He lost consciousness. Again.
The search has begun for the words of the song. May Church hide his tongue while time goes on, sniffing through an old dictionary like gripping rocks from a quarry, like precious stones composing jewelry. Jake wanted to give because to find. He wanted to live instead of rewind, in search for the lips that raised the power. They got him to build this tower on the ground where only 24 hours he lay under, waiting for her rain and his thunder to collide and make a wonder.
Meanwhile, the sun drowned in the horizon. His black eyes now looked for a clock or a consciousness of time. He hadn't eaten or drank in 2 days. He believed that taste and smells would get him out of this verbal waterfall. Passion can make stupid. We all know that. This hyperactivity of his left brain got him sick. On the 6th day, he himself was on the verge of falling into the clefts of the mid-cerebral fissure. He heard the door being forced, and heavy boots stumbling in. Normal people would have heard firemen or policemen, but this low life form heard the beats of a drum. The story was that his neighbors started to complain about the smell of excrements and rotten food, resulting from this writing hand syndrome. At that instant, the only actual living part of Jake's body was his hand. He hadn't stood up to flush the bad ideas away, like they say. The headlines in the newspaper were quite cryptic. Human or reptile? At the root of this debate was a picture taken from the moment they found him. It looked like the filth had set on his skin and formed scales. End of chapter 2.